road. They didn't play well at home last week either, but that's another story. We're all picking the Washington Redskins to beat the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee, who had to scrape and claw to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're all picking the Cleveland Browns to beat said Jaguars. We're all picking the Indianapolis Colts to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. We're all picking the Lions to beat the Saints. Saints on the road, no go. Green Bay over Carolina. Chargers over Kansas City. The Arizona Cardinals over Oakland at home. The Dallas Cowboys over the Giants at home. The Houston Texans over the... Where are they? Where'd they go? When are they playing?
Steelers.
Over the Steelers on Monday night.
Did we disagree on anything?
Hold on. We'll just calm. You are all over the trigger tonight.
I am. I'm impatient. I just bring it on.
It's a faster paced environment out there in Chicago, I'm sure.
It is, man. I drank coffee late today. Sorry.
Nice.
We're all picking Buffalo over Minnesota, and we're all picking the Bears over the Miami Vikings, the Miami Dolphins at home. So the games, only very few that we disagreed on, and one was the Seattle Seahawks at the St. Louis Rams. Jim and I are picking the Seahawks. Steve, you think the Rams stand a cat's chance, and you know what? What? Why?
No, I picked Seattle.
Tell me I got that wrong. No,
Did you get that wrong again?
I gotta go check.
I picked Seattle.
Where are you? Baltimore. No, you specifically texted St. Louis.
Oh, I did pick St. Louis. Well, I meant to pick Seattle, but if we have to disagree on something, I guess I'll stick with it.
Well, what's your official pick?
You don't have to disagree on anything.
No, this is for
my actual pick was Seattle. I don't know why I typed St. Louis, but I picked Seattle. Well, I don't think they're going to lose 2 weeks in a row, especially after getting embarrassed like they did last week.
So since I started this topic, what would St. Louis have to do to beat the Seahawks?
Ball control. I think Seattle, I think Dallas has shown that if you can put up enough points and you can control the ball and keep it out of Seattle's offense, you have a chance of beating them. And really, after week 1 against Green Bay, Seattle's looked all right, but they still haven't looked like the dominant team we all expected them to be this year. They've looked very good, but not unbeatable. So I think if Seattle, I mean, look at the way they're playing really tight against San Francisco right now. And Seattle also has proven they're a different team on the road. I still think they're going to win. I don't see them losing 2 weeks in a row, though.
I think the Cowboys, and not just the Cowboys for that matter, think of the other teams that have beaten the Seahawks. One of the common denominators is that they establish a running game against the Seahawks. Well, you control or do your best to control the time of possession by beating their defense, and that's a hard thing to do. I mean, you're basically going against the better half of the team, at least in my opinion, compared to the offense, even though the offense has been sometimes grand, sometimes not. But, I was looking back, by the way, guys, and I apologize for interjecting this now. We should have mentioned this when we were talking about the Cowboys-Seahawks, but since we are talking about the Seahawks again, can either of you name the last 2 teams that beat the Seahawks in Seattle? And I think I got this right. I think these are the last 2 teams, just based on the dates. And
if I say long enough,
I want to say one of them was San Francisco.
Ding, 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 ding! You got that right. Can you tell me when it was?
I cannot think of the second one. It wasn't last season. It was the season before. It was 2012 season.
Close. It was actually December 2011, the 49ers beat the Seahawks 19-17.
Oh, I know.
I knew it definitely wasn't last year, but I did.
I know. It was Arizona,
I don't know who the other team was.
It was the Arizona Cardinals last year.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding. And when was that, my friend?
Last year. December 22nd.
Very good. In December. That's right. Oh, you looked it up, didn't you?
Yeah, he looked it up. I was going off of my head.
See, I knew it was the 49ers. I couldn't recall when it was, and then I just went online and found that second game.
I was going to guess the Cardinals, but I just didn't know it.
But I remember that game, and if as long as you pulled it up online, you could double check this. I'm 99% sure Frank Gore had one hell of a running game against the Seahawks. And I'll bet if the Cardinals didn't have a great running game, they must have established a really good passing game. Anyway.
What year was that?
The Cardinals was 2013, December.
Right.
And the 49ers was December 2011.
Hold on one second. We're going to find this out right now. 2011. Let me find the Seahawks 2011 results.
Stat blowout.
Hey, well, you know what? Say what you will.
I do.
Chris Carter quoted Pro Football Focus today on Mike and Mike, by the way. I was glowing. I was glowing.
Anyway, I remember last year this time when the Seahawks went to the Rams. It wasn't exactly this time. Maybe it was about another month away last year. I was in Vegas, and I remember seeing what the line was or the spread was for the Seahawks-Rams, and it was in. I'm like, oh, there's no way that even the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks are going to destroy the Rams, and it ended up. And at the last minute, I'm like, I'm not going to bet on this. Something about this isn't right. The Seahawks are at home. They tend to play a little bit better at home. That was last year's team, where they had a healthy defense. And sure enough, I would have lost. I would have lost every cent I would have betted. And so thank goodness. But this year, their defense is so banged up. I mean, they're really missing Laurinaitis. It's just not. They're just in a bad place.
In that game where the San Francisco 49ers beat Seattle 2 years ago, they ran the ball 40 times as a team as opposed to Alex Smith throwing 26 times.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
So it was Frank Gore with 23 carries and Kendall Hunter with 12.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, 170.
Well, there we go.
Yards. There it is.
There's the winning formula.
There's the winning formula, just like we
Zach
said.
Stacy has to have a big game. I mean, that's pretty much it. And Trey Mason. They need to come in there and just double the dosage and just hit him and hit him and hit him in the face until they beat him. Yep.
And by the way, folks, the 49ers have pretty much put the nail in the coffin tonight on the Rams as Dante Johnson returns an interception 20 yards for a touchdown. It's about to be 31-17. 49ers.
Oh.
Thanks for playing, St. Louis. Take a version of our home game with you.
All right, so since we haven't disagreed on a game yet, what are the ones we've disagreed on?
No, there's only one that we disagree on. Now. Only one. What a boring bunch of pickers we are.
God, that's boring.
Really boring. And it's the San Francisco-Denver game. Steve and Jim are both picking the Broncos.
You're picking the Niners?
I am picking the Niners, and let me tell you why. Let me tell you exactly why. I watched Peyton Manning's highlights, and there is absolutely no zip on that ball. None. And San Francisco's defense is too good. Denver is prime for the picking. Even in their wins, they haven't looked all that convincing. I'm picking the Niners to win on the road.
See, to me, Denver's defense is good enough now to put enough pressure on Kaepernick, who I still think has a lot to learn and a lot of maturity before I would consider him to be an elite quarterback. And Manning at home, prime time, NBC, 8:30. Denver is just too tough to beat at home. I understand what you're saying. It looks like he has lost a little bit of a zip, but it's still Peyton Manning. He's still having a great season. That offense is still just unconscious. And I agree with Tony Dungy. He says that when Manning's career is done, he's going to have 600 touchdowns. And I agree with that. I think he's still going to light it up, and I think they're going to pick apart San Francisco.
I think that the Broncos will destroy the 49ers.
No.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, look, not only the Broncos right now have a better defense than the 49ers do, period. You can't argue it. You can't. There's just no way.
Not true.
The 49ers secondary is so suspect that Peyton Manning will be able to sit down and they'll run the right plays to the right people. And I know you mentioned lollipop in the football. I saw that too, but those were intentional lollipops. He basically threw them up to let his guys jump up in the air and catch the football.
There was a touchdown to Julius Thomas in the end zone that was a slant route, and he threw it, and it looked like he just freaking puss-chucked it. The 49ers are third in the NFL in opposing passing yards and fifth in the NFL in opposing rushing yards. That defense is underrated.
No. You're confusing two things. You're confusing pass yards with scoring.
I'm saying if you're going to start anywhere, that defense can do the job.
Okay. Well, that's why there's meant to be disagreements.
Well, no, because we got to have
why we only disagree about one game. So it's fine with me. If that's the one we're disagreeing about, that's okay.
No,
and if I look at Peyton Manning right now, as far as quarterback rating, he's third in the league behind Phillip Rivers and Aaron Rodgers. He's got 15 touchdowns, 3 picks, and 1,500 yards. I'll take that waffling over Jay Cutler any day, and he's our quarterback.
Here's the bottom line. He's got great receivers who run great routes. There's going to be a size difference that we saw between the Bears and the 49ers receivers that will be present in this Broncos 49ers game. I mean, they're going to get manhandled. The mistakes they made on their roster and what they let happen to their secondary this offseason is one of these things that's just going to haunt this 49ers team whenever they get it against a decent enough team passing that has sizable receivers that can run good routes.
Right.
The
Broncos.
And they're still an underutilized weapon, at least so far this season since he's come back from his suspension in Wes Welker. And I can see him having a huge game because they will put pressure on Julius Thomas, Demaryius Thomas. They will double team them potentially, but then you have Wes Welker who will always find a way. I mean, they have just too many weapons.
The Broncos' scoring defense is ranked 6th. The 49ers are ranked 9th. They're not that far apart. And here we go. I'm going to tick you guys both off. The second highest rated pass coverage units at Pro Football Focus is the San Francisco 49ers. And right below them is the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means. I don't know if that
just
means that because of the yardage weighs heavily in that whatever formula it is that they're using, or if they are in fact considering the scoring and the sizing of the different teams.
No, that's play-by-play. Everybody that's dropping into pass coverage, whether or not they perform well, execute their job, and make a play on the ball, or they get beat. So you get negative rated if you screw it up, and you get positive rated if you do your job well on that play. All right, first in the league right now is San Diego, then San Francisco, then Denver, then Dallas, surprisingly, then the Giants.
Here's what I see. I see them giving up roughly 200 yards per game on average. I see Peyton Manning beating that average. I see them giving up 21.2 points per game, and I see Peyton Manning beating that.
I agree.
You would.
It's just Denver. Like I said, Denver at home, they're very tough to beat, especially in prime time. I mean, I would love to look up the numbers of Peyton Manning in primetime games. He just always seems to be at his best.
I'll say it could be a close game. I mean, it could be a close game. There'd be no, I mean.
Their home games, they beat the Colts 31-24 week 1. They beat the Chiefs 24-17 week 2. And they beat the Cardinals 41-20.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's the Cardinals. I mean.
I'll take it.
Yeah, the Cardinals have a very good defense. They actually have a really good team this year.
The only game that they've looked they've looked convincing in. The only game. The Jets game at the Jets on the road, they shouldn't have won that game by 14. It should have been by more. The Geno Smith actually looked semi-effective against that Denver defense.
Yeah, but that's always been Geno Smith's issue is 1 week he'll look great against a team he shouldn't be playing well against, and then the next week he plays against a team that he should win, that he should beat, and he looks like garbage.
And they only threw for 173 yards, so let's not overstate that.
I'm looking at the schedule for next week, and here are some interesting games. Bengals versus Colts. I think that's an interesting game.
Yeah, it should be. We just don't know which Bengals team is going to show up.
That's true, but I also could see it being a very good offensive game for the Bengals. That Andy Dalton potentially throws for 300 yards and a couple TDs. Dolphins versus the Bears. That's a very interesting game.
If the Bears lose that game at home, I'm sorry.
I know, but I mean the Dolphins looked pretty good against the Packers. I mean
they did, but they were
the
also
Packers
home.
Did not skate to a win in that game.
If the Dolphins go, because the Bears have not won yet at home. So if Miami comes in there and they beat Chicago at home, it just can't happen in the NFL. You have to win your home games.
Game over, man. Game over.
But there's all kinds of intriguing matchups. Atlanta at Baltimore. I know Atlanta is a little bit of a...
No, I mean, the Ravens should